Hello, Joel.
Hey, Nick.
What have you been up to?
I have a bunch of updates to share with you. I'll list them out really quick so that you can then we can talk about them one by one.
Please.
So first off, I took your advice and I got an M2 MacBook Air, and I
Fantastic.
really want to talk about that. Upgraded to an iPhone 13
What?
mini. Uh, Bought an OLED TV, and I also moved to Finland.
Wow. That's,
I figured I'd list them in order of importance. MacBook being the most
but
important.
not necessarily the order that we're going to talk about them in. Uh,
Probably, probably not. Probably not.
that's a lot. I hope yeah, let's go. Let's go. Start telling me. What are we going to address
Should we start with the
first?
MacBook?
Yeah.
With the MacBook, because that happened first,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay.
That was the first thing that happened in this list of things. So, okay, I had before this, as anybody that's been listening to the podcast for any amount of time knows, I had a 2020 MacBook Pro, which was an Intel i5, 16 gigs of RAM. I think it had a 512 SSD with the good keyboard, right? Really important distinction is that had the
This
good
was the
keyboard,
last
right?
MacBook Pro before the Butterfly.
Uh, it was the last MacBook Pro. It was so they did the bad keyboard
Yes.
years, right?
Yes.
We had the bad keyboard, and then it was the first MacBook Pro that had the good keyboard, but it was also the second, I think the second to last MacBook Pro before we went to the M1 MacBook Pro. Does that make sense? My timelines could be kind of
Hang on,
off,
no,
and
I thought
I'm not really worried about
we
it.
had butterfly keyboards. Oh, I don't remember. Fine.
Yeah, I don't really remember either. In fact, I don't even remember, was the butterfly keyboard the good one
No,
or
the
the
butterfly
bad
was
one?
the
I don't
bad
even
one.
know anymore.
The butterfly was the like
Yeah.
really tiny travel, and there were
Yes.
3 generations of butterfly,
Terrible.
but they all were poor.
Yeah, and then they finally went back to the old scissor style or whatever, and we're back to having good keyboards. So anyway, I bought that machine and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But 3 years into it, it really started to show its age. The biggest problem that I had, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, is the heat. I mean, it just ran so hot. Do you remember that with your Intel MacBook?
Yeah, I do. I remember. The two scenarios were one being on a Zoom call and the fan noise, and then
Mm-hmm.
another time I remember I was preparing for some night work, so I was going to do a survey of a building, and I remember sitting on a sofa trying to get these floor plans ready, and it being so hot I couldn't have it on my lap.
Yep. Yep. It's a very similar experience to what I had. Is that it just ran so hot all the time. Additionally, my wife had I want to say it was the very last MacBook Air that was Intel based. The very last one. We bought her the
Right.
MacBook Air, and then like 2 months later, they announced the M1 MacBook Air, which has proven to be, even today in 2023, is still known as like a legendarily good machine.
Yeah.
Like it's still known for its excellence. And so she had that. I kid you not, she could not do her college work. So she's going to college right now. She's working on her history degree. She could not have a browser tab with Blackboard opened without the fan running at full speed.
Yeah.
It was just awful machine. So when we made the decision, like, okay, yeah, looks like we're moving to Finland, I decided that we better pull the trigger on a couple of new machines and sell off the old ones. And I felt terrible selling those off, man. I felt so bad. Like I felt like I was ripping someone off. But in the back of my mind, I told myself, no. People need an Intel machine. They're going to be glad to get one of the latest Intel machines. And I don't know if that was actually true for the people that bought them, but I don't know. But sold both of those and ordered two, not one, but two 13-inch. Of course, the 16-inch wasn't available yet. No, are these 14-inch? They're 14-inch,
This
aren't
is a
they? The M2.
MacBook Air.
Yeah, MacBook Air.
No, I
Yeah,
think
not MacBook
they're
Pro.
no,
We
they
went for
are. They're
MacBook Airs.
13-inch. I
Really?
think so.
Let's double
Aren't they
check really quick. I've
13.3?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's like it's the
Oh no,
current it's the current
it does
M2.
matter. It does matter.
It does. Okay, it is It is 13. It is. Oh no, M2 chip, not M1. I'm looking 13-inch and 15-inch. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we got two 13-inch MacBook Airs
Yeah.
at your recommendation.
Well, only because at the time I remember the switch from my M1 MacBook Pro to the what is this thing? This is the M1 Pro MacBook Pro, the 14-inch. I know that's it. I remember from my switch from the 13-inch MacBook Pro to the 14-inch MacBook Pro, and me just feeling like it was a bit brutalist design. I mean, the laptop itself was great, but it was a bit chunky in comparison. Anyway,
It was kind of a chonker.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's past now, actually. As
Really,
yeah,
you're comfortable like it doesn't feel like a big chonker laptop anymore.
no, it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose time just kind of helps you adjust to things. But I think at the time when you made this recommendation to me, you had the MacBook Pro and Rosemary had the MacBook Air, and you were using it or
Oh yeah, that's right.
something
There was
like
there
that.
was
I
a
forget the
transition.
circumstances.
Yeah, there was a transition period when I changed jobs and I didn't have
Yeah.
an M1. I didn't have access to an M1 MacBook Pro. The only computer we had in the house was Rosemary's
The M.
MacBook Air, and it was a joy to use. So light, fast.
Yes.
Struggled a bit
Yes.
with with heavy fusion, like big fusion
Yeah.
projects, but it's a MacBook Air. Like
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So can I tell you about my experiences with it
yes,
so far?
please.
Are you
But
interested in hearing
but
that?
now for
Okay.
clarity though, we are now talking about your 13-inch M2 MacBook Air.
Yes. So first, let me tell you what I bought. For myself, I upgraded from the 8 GPU core to the 10 GPU core, and I maxed it out at 24 gigabytes of RAM.
Yes.
That was your recommendation, so I decided to go ahead and do that. And I think I went for what size SSD did I get? I don't actually know how to tell on this because Ventura changed the. Okay, yeah, it's a half a terabyte, so 512 gigabyte SSD.
Yeah.
I also got the cool little power brick with the fold-in prongs. I don't know if you even get that in the UK, but it's a little power brick that has two USB-C ports on it. So that was kind of like a little free upgrade that you got with the 10 GPU
I don't
core.
know if anything's free
And then,
with Apple.
well, sure. No, I suppose not. But
but no extra charge.
It felt good. No extra charge because the upgrades I got, they bumped the power adapter, which I appreciated, and it felt like a good deal. As a consumer, I felt good about the situation. So there was that. For my wife, since she's just using it for quite literal word processing, I mean, she is just doing homework and writing papers and doing research and things like that. She's not doing any CPU intensive tasks. I went for the standard 8 core. I did bump her to 16 gigabytes of RAM, but I left it at the base 256 gig SSD. That's going to be more than enough for her. So we received them both at basically on the same day. I ordered them at the same time. They showed up on the same day. I got the classic silver, and we got her the Starlight, which she had a rose gold Intel MacBook Air.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt resale value pretty badly.
Really?
That really did hurt. Yeah, a guy ended up buying it, and he didn't seem to care. But I do think it did hurt the resale value of it a little bit because I think when you went with that rose gold, which is almost like a pink, I think you're almost cutting your market in half of who you can who you can sort of sell it to. So anyway, received it. And I think the aha moment, the wow moment for me was when I hooked it up to my 4K monitor and I looked at the monitor and the scaling was off and I went, oh, that's not right. So I turned back to the MacBook Air screen and I changed the display scaling.
Yeah.
And the screen didn't do anything. And I went, oh, it didn't accept the changes. Something is broken. And I looked back over at the display preferences and the scaling was set to what I thought it should be. And I went, hang on. And I looked back at my monitor and realized that it had seamlessly switched over to the new scaling without shutting off and blinking and turning on and off 5 times or whatever. Additionally, so like video scaling, changing resolutions, changing monitors, anything like that just happens instantaneously and perfectly reliably every single time. Do you have any suppositions as to like why that is? Why it's so much better on Apple Silicon as opposed to an Intel architecture? Any guesses? I'm just asking for the fun of it.
No, I don't know. I had the same experience though in that yeah now the video output doesn't stop when you make a change. It's in line, like the
Hmm.
change happens in line rather than stopping the output, making a change, and then starting it back up again. No,
Yeah.
I would love to bust out some kind of knowledgeable sounding explanation now as to why that is, but I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. I have a theory that I can
Oh,
offer, and I don't think we'll ever get validation on whether this is true or not. But my guess is that when Apple was running Intel architecture, they basically had to write shims. They had to get drivers from Intel. They had to do all this work to interface with Intel's hardware. Whereas if they're building all the hardware from start to finish, they're literally building the GPU. They're literally building the CPU. In fact, it's all in one die. I think
mm,
it makes sense that they would have absolutely perfect control over that hardware,
yeah,
and that the hardware, they just build it to do what they want it to, and it does nothing more and nothing less. And so that affords you things like instant resolution changes and instant additions and things like that to monitors and stuff like that. So that's my theory. I have no idea if there's any weight behind or
no, that
anything, but
makes
that's my
yeah, no,
theory.
that makes perfect sense because the CPU and GPU coming from Intel. That's right, because they were integrated, weren't they? On some of the Macs, the GPU was integrated into the CPU, but it came from Intel.
I think they were, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That was Intel's architecture, and they could only send instructions. Uh,
And, you know,
you had to
if I,
work
if I
within the
had to
frame. Yeah,
guess,
you had to
just kind of
work within the framework.
offered by Intel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you and I, we both worked around software engineering. We both worked, well, I would say actually you've done quite a bit of software engineering. I have done almost none, very, very little. But I often find that when a developer has to integrate with a system, whether it's a piece of hardware or an API or something like that, they start to find all the little weird issues with it. They go like, oh yeah, if we poke this API, on Sunday afternoon when it's a full moon and the wind is blowing south or something like that, then something breaks and we have to back off and wait for 20 minutes and try again. Like, you start to get familiar with all these little
Mm.
quirks and issues and things like that. And I just kind of wonder if when we're changing the resolution on a graphics card or something like that, if Apple had to go like, oh, yep, it does this weird thing. We have to just back off and wait 500 milliseconds and then poke it 3 or 4 times or do a quick, I don't
Yeah.
know, power cycle on that chip or something crazy like that. I don't
I
know.
think
That's my
I think your
guess.
guess is good, and that yeah, now that Apple are writing now that Apple are designing their own chips using the ARM architecture, they can make it do they can optimize for anything that they want to do, and delivering
Yeah,
that seamless experience, that improved
it's so much
seamless
easier.
experience. Yeah, well, no, now they can. Yeah, it's kind of weird
Now
though.
they
It's
can.
like
Yeah.
that. You're doing a good job of dragging these thoughts up because like I'm thinking like, oh yeah, it's been a long time since that blew me away. Like, but it did blow me away.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad to hear that you had a similar experience. There is another thing about the Apple Silicon architecture that has deeply, deeply impressed me. Um, Although this, I now realize that this is how it should have been all along. Like it shouldn't impress me that this is a good thing, but it does all the same.
yeah,
On the Intel MacBook, randomly, I would go pull it out of my bag and the battery would be dead because the dang thing, when I closed the lid and put it away, for whatever reason, it didn't fall asleep and it sat there in my bag running, generating heat and draining its battery, doing who knows what. And then I plug it in and I have to like massage the machine for a while to get it to even power back on. Like I'm holding the power button down and doing a rain dance and all this stuff and like kind of hoping like please, 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 machine, power back on. I didn't realize it until I got the M2 Mac, but I spent so much time troubleshooting power on and standby related and shutdown issues on my
Really?
2020 Intel MacBook Pro, whereas on my MacBook Air, I press the power button and it wakes up. I close the lid and it goes to sleep. I plug it in and it charges. And it does those things every single time with no hiccups and no complaints. And the fact that that impresses me just goes to show what a terrible, terrible machine the 2020 MacBook Pro was. Now that I have the M2 MacBook Air, I am realizing that the 2020 MacBook Pro that I had was a freaking awful machine. It was terrible, and I just didn't know it.
Sure. Yep.
So we can move, unless you have some thoughts, we can move on to talking about
only MagSafe.
Okay. So wait, you're saying?
Well,
what?
Are you enjoying the return of MagSafe to your laptop?
I love it. Well, I love it, Nick. See, I love it so much.
But do you now not find it? Because I like having it back, but because of the USB Type C lifestyle that I almost exclusively have now, I don't really use that Lightning. I don't use that Lightning. I don't use that MagSafe connector. And I think it's fantastic that it's USB-C on the other end of that Lightning of that MagSafe cable.
Yes.
Because
don't worry, Nick. We're gonna be moving away from this Lightning problem fairly soon.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
So hang in there.
But so it's almost a shame that the MagSafe connector went away and has now come back, because I'm glad it's back. It gives me that option, and there are a few locations in my house where I don't have a. There are a few locations in my house where I have a power brick and the MagSafe cable plugged in, and that is a good experience of just snapping it on. But now when I'm traveling, I'm not going to take a single purpose cable with me, because if I take a USB-C cable with me, I can do power or data over it.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree wholeheartedly. But here's the beauty. Apple gave us both.
Yep.
And so the only thing that if for whatever reason, like let's say that you don't want to take your MagSafe cable traveling or anything, you just go to Amazon or wherever and buy a 1 meter or 2 meter USB-C cable, and ta-da, you have what you want again. And I love that so much. So here's where I've landed on that issue. First off, at work, I have a Thunderbolt 4 display, which is very nice. I'm enjoying that quite a bit. It's a Dell. It's an IBM ThinkVision, but we need to talk about the display thing.
Okay.
We need to loop around to that. At home, related to the thing that we need to talk about around monitors, I don't have a desk at home anymore. I have no workspace at home. I have no work.
Just
at all. None. We need to talk about that. So at home, I am using MagSafe. And by the way, the cable is a very premium cable.
Yep.
That is a fantastic cable. I love the braided sheath on it.
Have you looked at the cost of it all by itself, though?
No, I have not.
They are pricey.
Really? How much are they?
I can't remember, but I know I bought one and my eyes were watering.
Really? Okay. Good to know. I will be very careful to not lose
that one.
So at home,
yeah,
I won't. But at home, I'm using my MacBook in very precarious places. I have kids running around, and they're great kids. They're actually very careful for children. They have adapted to me in my particular ways really well. But you know what? Our youngest, Daphne, when you tell her, "Hey, be careful of that cable going across there," she doesn't step across it. Her understanding of be careful is to move past it as quickly as possible, like vault over it, you know? And so twice now, the MagSafe cable has popped out of the MacBook and saved the day.
That's fantastic. Was the laptop open or closed?
Both.
Okay.
I think one, it was open, once it was closed.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just on MagSafe, because I remember this is now talking about MagSafe 2, so going back some many years. but I remember having this
Hmm.
conversation with my father about it, and I was so excited about this power cable being magnetic. And my dad was like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever. Like, it doesn't justify like how much this thing cost, and da. And then, and he had, I think he was going to buy my old Mac or something, whatever. But then it saved him
Yeah.
once, and he was like, Nick, I get it. This is amazing.
Yep. Yep. And you also have a toddler running around. Well, I shouldn't say also. I do not have a toddler running around, just so that we're clear.
No. But
I do have an 8-year-old running around, a rambunctious 8-year-old. But has the MagSafe saved you yet, or has that just not come up
it
yet?
hasn't come up yet, and also because like I
Okay.
say, at the moment, the only place that my MagSafe connector is in use is within the bedside. So
Yeah.
I have a MagSafe
Yeah.
connect. I have the laptop MagSafe cable trailing out from the bedside table because unfortunately
Okay.
sometimes I do sit on the bed with my laptop. But
Yeah.
now it's a
Yeah. Okay.
problem because sometimes I'll sit on the bed with the iPad and there's no MagSafe on the iPad.
No power.
Right. So
Yes.
now I have to have USB Type
Yep.
C and the MagSafe connector
Yes. Well, Apple just needs to put MagSafe on the iPad,
on the next iPad. Yeah, but it'll probably be puck
and
style, won't it? I don't know.
yeah, oh, it
Anyway.
would be if they were
Okay.
going to.
All right. So
Yeah, but
return of MagSafe, huge improvement. And then I guess very last
hmm
thing, your MacBook Air has how many
hmm
USB Type C ports?
it has
It's got
two,
two,
um,
both on the same side.
both on the same side, and that is the one thing about this machine that is frustrating to
Okay.
me. I really wish they had put one on each side, or even better, like two on one side and one on the other, or
But isn't
something.
that
Primarily because it limits my monitor setup
agreed? But isn't
a,
that the
a
gotcha
little
though
bit.
with the 14-inch MacBook Pro in that if you want a USB Type C connector on both sides, I appreciate this is an artificial limitation, but it's sort of like if you want that flexibility of USB C ports on both sides, then you need to get the 14-inch Pro.
Yeah, yeah,
The only reason I went
exactly.
there was I think the introduction of or the reintroduction of MagSafe there does now validate the whole Air line because the MacBook,
Yeah,
the 12-inch MacBook with only a single port that you that crippled the machine.
that was terrible.
But now you've still got a limited number of ports, but because it's two USB C ports plus MagSafe, it's not that's not really a hindrance. But
Hmm.
I do understand about your. I guess my home setup now has evolved to just understand that um, connectors and power should be on the left of my laptop, and so
Yes.
now my desk
Uh,
is arranged in
Yeah,
that way because of that
yeah,
decision.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we adapt to Apple all the time. All the time, we adapt to whatever artificial limitations Apple puts on us. One last thing I want to cover on this M2 MacBook Air is, of course, the performance. Uh, I have found that in short, bursty, sort of processing intensive tasks, it is fantastic. It is fast. It is so fast. But of course, it does thermal throttle. That is a reality if I'm encoding video with Final Cut Pro. If I am doing a handbrake encoding session or something like that, it definitely does thermal throttle. And I wish that I had a little taskbar app that would show me. I don't want the app to do anything else,
Mm.
but I would love to find either a Raycast extension uh, or a taskbar app that just showed me the thermals of the machine, and I haven't found one yet. It seems like Apple broke some of the APIs that some of the developers were using for that, and so I need to find something that's optimized for Apple Silicon or something like that.
Sorry, this
So
was you just want to see a
um,
status of whether thermal throttling is in place?
Yeah, yeah. Just there. I know that I know that the OS does report like a thermal load
Yep.
value, whether it's like low, medium, high, something like that. I would like to know what that is while I'm using the
Okay.
machine.
You
But
I have
yeah,
a proposal for you then.
all right. Let's hear it.
Swift bar.
Swift bar.
So
Okay.
Swift bar is a small app that you can put output into your menu bar. And so
Okay.
you would just write your own script that pulls that high, medium, low. So I guess the thing here is SwiftBar would do the job of displaying it for you. You would need to
Oh, okay. Right.
find the script to find that value, and then you just
I think I
define
could do that.
how often you want it to run.
Okay. Yeah. Swift bar. Add a custom menu bar for Mac OS in 3 easy steps. Write a shell script. Add it to Swift bar. There is no third step. I will check this out. I'm excited about this, and I think this could be the solution that I'm looking for. So I will check it out and report
Have you ever run into secure input mode?
No.
Okay. Really quickly, macOS has a mode called secure input. And that is whenever the operating system detects that you're typing, that your focus is in a password field. And so,
okay.
And for me, this breaks. I use a different app to app switch, and secure input blocks that app from being triggered. So I become sensitive to secure input because sometimes my app switcher doesn't work. So I have a SwiftBar script that tells me in my menu bar, by the way, secure input is active right now. And that was
so that way you're not mashing the button repeatedly going, why isn't it working, when it's just secure input doing its thing.
And the odd thing is,
because
secure input sometimes just gets stuck on when you log in, and it's simple fix. You just hit the power key, go back to your login screen, tap the fingerprint, log back in again, and now it's gone and it's cleared. But and I think the original reason for this was that I needed because I was doing screen recording and it wasn't capturing keystrokes and blah blah blah. Anyway, so it's all about protecting keystrokes from being logged.
Gotcha, makes sense. And so I'll definitely check out SwiftBar. That looks like it'll do the trick. So yeah, all in all, extremely happy with the MacBook Air. So with that, we should probably move on to the next piece of news, which is that because I moved to Finland, again, that's that minor detail that we'll talk about later, I got a new iPhone.
Right.
Again, minor details, but I moved to Finland because my company wanted me to move here, blah, 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 whatever. Who cares about that?
I think I do care about that, and I'd like to talk about that, but let's do the iPhone. Right. Let's do the iPhone next.
All right, and I'm totally hamming it up just for the fun of it. I do want to talk about it. It is really exciting. So when I moved here, I was formerly technically a contractor to my company, Hamina Wireless. And when I moved here, and by the way, since I moved from the U.S., we've actually stood up a U.S. entity. Like we have a proper company there now, and so I would have been employed by the company directly soon anyway. But the timing just worked out that I moved over here. Now I'm a proper employee of Hamina Wireless OY. Is it pronounced OY or OY? I don't even know. I don't even know what that means.
You tell me.
I just know it's
I know what it means.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like business.
Yeah. And I see it in like Nordic countries like Finland and maybe Sweden. I don't know. Anyway, our chief operations officer, Tommy, you know Tommy, said, hey, which iPhone Pro Max Gigantor edition do you want? And I said, Tommy, please, can I have a 13 mini? And he was like, do they even sell those anymore? And I was like, they might. Can you check for me? And he was like, yes, they have some. What color do you want? And I said, white. And he said, I got you. And so he got me an iPhone 13 mini. And so it was actually waiting for me when I arrived in Finland. So almost one of the first things I received was my company iPhone 13 mini and a SIM card for a local cell carrier. And it has been great.
Which carrier?
Elisa.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but yeah, Elisa. I think Telenor and Elisa are the two big ones here.
Yeah.
And Elisa is a bit more business focused. Telenor is a little bit more consumer focused. Cool. I think. I don't really know. And I'm actually running. So now I'm running dual SIMs on my 13 mini right now. So I still have my T-Mobile account from the US, and that I converted to an eSIM. So that process was extremely easy. Basically, when I switched over to the new phone, iOS noticed like, oh, there's a SIM card in this phone already. And then it went, do you want to transfer your old SIM over and make it an eSIM? And I was like, yes, I do. And it
Oh, so
just
you
magically worked. And
used. Oh,
yeah,
hang on a minute. This is contentious.
hmm
So you used the transfer wizard.
uh, sort of. Did I? Oh, Nick, I did use the transfer wizard.
How do you feel about
What is wrong with me?
that now?
Okay, we need to talk about the fact that I just moved to Finland. Nick, that the past, so we've been here for 3 weeks
Okay.
now. The past 9 weeks of my life, so like 6 weeks leading up to moving, were the most stressful 6 weeks of my life, maybe
Okay.
ever. Maybe, but especially that last week was its own special kind of
Yeah.
hell.
Hey,
Like it was hard.
it it's not this is not a problem. You can, like, when the next OS comes out, you can always blank your phone and
Wipe it and
yeah,
start over.
yeah.
Yeah,
Although can you? What happens to your eSIM?
I have no idea.
Ugh.
I have no idea what will happen to it.
Okay.
But I did do the transfer, and it's funny because before this, I would have never
Yeah.
ever done that. I would have never done that. But I think I got here, and I was like, I need it to just work. I'm pretty sure this will just
Yeah.
work. I mashed the buttons. It sucked everything over from my old iPhone. I didn't move the SIM card right away. I did do two phones for about a week and a
Okay. So
half
a 12
before
mini
finally I was
and a
like,
13 mini.
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, I dual wielded, which was kind of a pain. And then finally, about a week and a half ago, I finally did decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna suck that SIM card over. And if I remember correctly, I was able to do that from the 13 mini. I either did it on the 12 mini and then transferred it over, or I did it from the 13 mini and it pulled it over. I don't remember which, but what I can tell you is that the process was super painless,
Yep.
worked super well. I have two I have two sets of cell phone bars, which
Yep.
is weird.
Yep.
And I have to go. One issue I have pretty much all the time is I have to go into every single contact and tell it whether I want to use my primary or secondary number. My primary being my Finnish
Ah.
number, my secondary being my US number.
So for your
So,
so what? So that's like, if for making new conversations with these contacts, you have to
mhm.
tell it.
so yeah. Okay. So here's a common scenario. When I moved to the new SIM card, Apple asked me, like, "Hey, do you want to use your +354 your Finnish phone number? Do you want that to be your new iCloud phone
Mm,
number?" And I was like, "Yes, let's go ahead and take the plunge and do it." So then when I pulled the SIM card over, the eSIM over for my US number, and I go to text somebody, it'll be a green bubble. And I'll be like, whoops. So I go into the contact and I change the primary number from secondary, or I change the number that I contact that person with from secondary to primary or from US to Finnish.
yes.
And then all of a sudden I message, now I get blue bubbles again.
Okay.
So it's been a little bit of a learning experience. I've kind of had to figure it out as I've gone, but overall, pretty smooth, especially for somebody that's a little bit technical minded like me.
That's
A little bit,
interesting because
just a tiny bit.
I have dabbled with eSIMs, but
Mm-hmm.
explicitly only temporary ones while I'm in a country
Mm-hmm.
where I want that secondary SIM card for data.
For data.
And
Yep.
I
Yep.
so I've never run into that scenario because I so if I go to USA, I disable my SIM from data, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I needed to make an emergency call, I would still be using my SIM. So that would cost a lot of money, but I'm not planning on making any phone calls. Everything would go out over my
Right.
cheap USA data SIM.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so running dual SIMs is not, it was a very good experience, but it's
Mhm.
not without hurdles that you got to navigate.
Yeah. You just have to be attentive, I think. And I mean, fortunately, most people out there that are running dual SIMs are doing what you're doing. They're not having two phone numbers like I am. Fortunately, this is a temporary problem. Within a 12-month billing cycle, if T-Mobile sees that we have significant data usage abroad for 2 of those months consecutively, like if they see 2 months to get together within that 12-month cycle,
Hmm.
they reserve the right to immediately revoke your account and you're done.
Oh.
Like they reserve the right to do that. It is an automated system according to Reddit, which I think is smart on their part. Don't have humans be involved in that. But Reddit also suggests that they will only do that if you're using significant data usage. So, of course, I'm only using my T-Mobile SIM card for text messaging, basically, is really the only thing it's getting used for at this point. And I will be turning it off soon. My wife is still on there's no company card provided for her, no SIM card provided for her. And we cannot get her an ELISA SIM card and phone number. Very cheap, by the way. It's very inexpensive to get her something good. We can talk about that later, probably not this episode.
Hmm.
But we can't do that until we get Finnish banking credentials. And so we're
Yeah.
kind of stuck at the moment with her. Fortunately, she's either at home with Wi-Fi or she's doing like Google Maps that's all she's doing, and iMessage are the only thing she's doing when she's out and about. And so I think we could actually skate by like this with T-Mobile for a long time, but really it's in our best interest to just turn that down, shut it off,
Yeah.
and move on.
Cool.
So, yeah. Okay, should we talk about that boring detail about me moving
Yes.
to
Yes.
Finland?
Let's talk. Let's talk about that.
All right.
Definitely, because that's
Yeah, super
pretty.
boring. So tell me, what do you want to know? What do you want to know? Just what?
I want to know: was it a was it an easy decision?
You know, I feel like I'm gonna sound crazy for saying this, but no, it was not. Uh, the main reason being is, of course, where we came from in Boise, Idaho. We lived there for a very long time. My wife practically grew up there. Uh, we had established community around us. My grandpa's still there and in good health. My grandma on the other side of the family is still there in good health. Her parents live there. A lot of her family lives there. A lot of my family lives there. My parents are only a 10-hour drive or a 2-hour plane flight for my dad since he has a plane. Uh, and also just the comfort of like, there's local beer that I enjoy that I can get here.
Sure.
I know where my favorite restaurants are. Like we were very comfortable. We had a nice house. And so the kids went to a great STEM school, science, technology, education, mathematics, STEM school.
Thank you.
That was hard to get into. A public school, but a school of choice. So there's a lottery involved to get in and all that. My wife had her job at the school. She worked at the school and
Yeah.
really enjoyed that and got to be involved in the kids' education while still having a job. It was cool. We had a good setup there. Our neighbors, we had great neighbors that a lot of them had kind of adopted grandparent kind of roles, since some of them didn't have grandkids of their own. So that in our church, we had our church. We really enjoyed our church and we enjoyed our relationships and friendships there. And so to give that all up, to go on an adventure, yeah, that was hard. That took us a while to come around to. My boss suggested the whole thing back in October, and it really wasn't until about March that we finally decided, nah, we got to do
We're
it.
giving it.
And basically, what it came down to, what's
Yeah.
that? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No. No. Exactly. Yeah. It took several months for you to be like, yeah, okay, let's give this a try.
Yeah, and ultimately what it came down to is we thought in 5 years are we going to look back and how are we going to feel if we look back at the decision that we're making now? If we decide to not go to Finland, what is 5 years from now us going to think about that? And we realized that we were going to think we were idiots. We were like, we would be so stupid to not do this,
That
to not go have an adventure.
that to me, I don't remember who told me this, but I like it, and it sounds very similar to that, and that is much generally speaking. Obviously, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, it's better to regret doing the thing than not doing the thing.
Yes. And that's basically where we landed. Additionally, So full background. My company, Hamino Wireless, invited us to move over here so that I can take on more of a product management kind of role because all of our developers are
Mm.
here in Helsinki, Finland. Most of the company I have worked for before at prior companies. In fact, Nick, as you know, my boss, founder, CEO of the company, Jussi Kivniemi, I've worked with him at 2 companies now.
Yeah.
And you've worked with him as well. And the same goes for a whole bunch of our developers and chief operating officer and all these people. Like I've worked with them before. I've known them for almost a decade now, and they also went above and beyond to make the process easy for us. Of course, they were extremely supportive on helping us get residence permits and taking care of travel expenses and they even like got the apartment for us in advance.
Okay.
And so the apartment sat over here for a month just empty, but they helped us scope out the apartment, helped us get that all in order.
Wow.
And then so yeah, all that to say that just like I'm just filled with gratitude for just how easy they have made it.
Yeah.
The difficult parts were we had to kind of pack up and close down our lives in Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to my house there. Like it was a
It was a
house
house.
full of stuff.
It was not full of stuff. Like it was very well it did not feel cluttered. But then again it was a
Well,
lot
thank you.
larger. It was a lot larger than my shoebox home in the UK.
It, yeah, I mean, let's see. What's 2,400 square feet in meters? That's type in square meters in Raycast. 222 square meters plus a 3-car garage. So yeah, big, pretty
Yeah.
big. So the short version of a long story is we rented out the house. So we still own it.
Great.
It's being rented right now. We put our stuff in. We got rid of as much stuff as we could. Got rid of my wife's
We should talk
car.
about that though.
Kept my car.
Did you find
Oh,
that
should we?
sort of
Sure.
uplifting, like painful to get rid of things, but then quite like it's the pain is getting rid of the thing, but once it's gone, you're like, oh, I feel lighter now.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
In fact, when we were kind of putting the last few things in storage, over and over again, we were going, why do we keep this? Oh my gosh, why do we still have this? We should have
Wow.
gotten rid of this. Like we said that a lot, but we were so late in the cycle that there was no time to sell it or even give it away. And so there are quite a few things that got put in storage that I will be getting rid of when we get back.
Gotcha.
But they're just there because we ran out of time. So negative things leading up to the move, real quick is, first off, when you tell people, when you announce that you're leaving the country, people come out of the woodwork and they want to see you and hang out with you and say goodbye and all that. And that was tough because towards the end, well, first off, we said yes a lot, which really crushed us for time leading up to the end. And at the end, when things got desperate, and they got desperate, like when you're flying out on a Sunday and it's Friday, and you're still not moved out of your house or whatever,
Yep.
it's tough. And people are like, well, we really want to see you. And it's like, I can't, and luckily we were able to say goodbye to most of the people that we wanted to. Some people we missed, and that was hard. But yeah, the time crunch at the end was rough. The time crunch at the end was really, really rough. That was probably the most stressful part. So, and then this is relevant to, I think, some more discussion that we need to have about technology related stuff in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But at the very end, so we had a plan on how to get things over here. Our plan, and I'm kind of eager to hear your reaction, what you think of this plan, because I know you shipped a bunch of things internationally.
Okay.
I know you've done this.
Okay.
Our plan was to just get boxes, medium-sized boxes, and fill them with about 25 kilograms worth of stuff each, and ship them conventionally with UPS. That was our plan. So we had about 13 or 14 of these boxes to ship. So no furniture. So we're talking clothes, shoes.
Yep.
I brought like a box of technology related stuff. One of them was my Prussian Mini 3D printer. I thought I'd put my monitor in a box. We planned on shipping everything way in advance, but we didn't, and we didn't, and we didn't, and we didn't
Yeah.
because of aforementioned scheduling issues. So it came down to Saturday morning. We were leaving on Sunday. Saturday morning, we took a couple of boxes to UPS. And the first problem that we ran into is they said, okay, for customs purposes, we have to know exactly what is in this box. I'm like, shirts. They're like, okay, how many shirts? I'm like, 30. What's the value of each? $10 each. Are they knitted or woven? I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it. This isn't going to work. And I don't know. Please comment.
So I guess I have shipped big boxes of expensive of items with high value, but that's always been to the USA.
Okay.
And I don't think I've shipped anything big within Europe. The customs thing is a
Yeah.
problem because
Yeah.
when Badger Wi-Fi ships a WLAN Pi to a customer in Europe, there's a 90% chance that they get whacked with a big customs bill based on the value of the item that is going into their country, which is a complicated mess and expensive.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So first off, we were very short on time because it was Saturday, 10 a.m. We had 2 boxes out of like 12 to 14 or something like that with us. And they're asking us for a list of every single item that we have in the box, and we simply cannot supply that. Like we just don't know exactly what is in these boxes. And I did do some weighing and things like that. I knew that I had 14 pounds of shoes. That's the resolution that I had on what was in the boxes. So after we were through 1 box, and then he's like, okay, I'm generating shipping now. So the cheapest option that we have, would you like to guess, Nick, how much would it cost to ship a 45 centimeter cubed box that weighs about 25 kilograms to Finland? Want to hazard a guess?
Well, I can't remember what I paid for my shipping to the USA, but I guess I would be guessing, and we'll stick with US dollars. I would guess between sort of 80 and 150, maybe at the top end. So maybe like 100, maybe $120 would be my guess for a big, heavy box to go slow. I don't need it there tomorrow.
To go slow. Yes, precisely. Slow, $120, $150, maybe 200.
Yeah, maybe 200.
Not outside the realm of possibility.
If it's insured.
Yeah, something like that. $500 per box.
Just to ship.
That's with it getting there in several months.
Okay, and that with that, and had that already paid the import duty or
no shipping cost, no import duty?
No, I think that's a deal breaker.
So we apologized profusely to the guy at the UPS store, who was like a 17-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid. We apologized profusely and said, thank you for your time. And we left. And then we went back out to my car and we cried, freaked out, had an existential crisis. I don't know what we did, but we just realized that this isn't going to work. Okay, time for a new plan. What do we do? Well, it occurs to us.
How long until the flight?
Less than 24 hours at this point. It's about noon at this point because it had taken a good hour to get to this point. It's 11:30 or noon on Saturday. We're leaving at 1:30 p.m. on Sunday. And so we went home, and people are at our house helping us clean and get things moved out. And so it's a bustle of activity there. And I have so many people to thank profusely for their help. So many people pitched in. There's no way we would have gotten out without those people helping. So my wife and I realized like we can check 2 bags per person. There's 5 of us, so we can each do a personal item. We can do a carry-on bag. It needs to be below a certain weight.
Okay.
That's going to be a problem. And then we can check 2 bags per person. So that means we had to take about 14 boxes and get them down to 10 We had to get down to 10 boxes, and so that's when some very hard cuts were
Yep.
made. My Dell ultra sharp computer monitor. There was no time to sell it. There was no time. I didn't want to put it in storage because it's just going to rot for several
Yep.
years. And so I turned to my father-in-law and was like, I have a very nice computer monitor. It is I did a ton of research on this. It is exactly the monitor that I wanted, and I would like you to have it. And hand him the computer monitor. So that left us with 10 boxes. We went, so short story, I told you this is going to be the short
Okay.
version. It's been the long version anyway, but I'll try to keep it short. We went to the airport, went through the logistical nightmare of moving 10 boxes to the counter,
Can
which
we
you
just
can't
talk
leave
about? Can we
anything.
just talk about the logistics of? So this is with family. So you got what?
Uh, 3 kids in
So
tow, not quite.
okay.
Yeah, in-laws had the kids in the
Okay.
car off airport
Yep.
while we did this,
Okay,
shuffling
but
boxes to the
still
counter.
logistically, that's 2 adults moving 10
Mm-hmm.
gigantic
10.
checked bags
Yeah.
through an airport.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep. And they're not even roller bags that we can just drag along. Like, they're boxes that you can really realistically only carry one at a time.
Okay.
So we got up to we showed up 4 hours before the flight, which is we did the research and found like that's as soon as you can check bags is 4 hours before the
Understood.
flight. So we got there before the flight and took them all to the counter, and the total cost to check all 10 of those bags, most of them ended up being over 55 pounds or whatever it is, 26 kilograms or whatever. Turns out our bathroom scale at home is off by a good 10 pounds, which means we're heavier than we thought we were. That's great.
That's possibly
So
that's
to add
the worst bit about it. Was the discovery.
that's the worst part is, yeah, I thought that I was a neat 165 to 170 pounds. No, I'm probably pushing 180. So yeah, that sucks. So anyway, total cost to check all the bags, it was successful. They accepted them all, was $750 to move those 10 boxes.
Okay.
Now, I see the face that you're making, but consider
Yeah.
this. Think about this for a second. 500 times 10 is $5,000.
Do you think the
right?
cumulative value of those things in the boxes was 5,000?
Oh, no way. No way in hell.
So
No. Certainly not.
yeah.
No.
So it would cost you more to take the things with you than it would be to
Oh,
put
yeah.
all of those things
Just
in the
show up with
ground
nothing.
and buy new ones and buy new copies.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. But the tricky part is that some of the things in those boxes were like the few little sentimental things that, like, this is a thing that I really want to have with me, and it's I don't know.
No. You are.
Some of
I
that.
completely hear you. I I
Mm-hmm.
I have those tendencies in myself, but I
Yeah.
try my best to quash them. But then that's
Yeah.
because I'm now older. I'm older than I was. I wouldn't want a child to have to quash sentimental attachment to an
Yes.
item. That's the
And easily half the boxes were children's items.
yeah.
Have you heard of squishmallows by chance? Have you ever heard of a squishmallow?
Squishmallow.
Yeah. Yeah, squishmallow. Yeah.
MOLLO.
Just type in MALLOW.
Like a
MLOW.
squishmallow.
Mallow. Yes.
Squishmallow.
Yeah.
So like a marsh.
Type this in really quick.
Like a marshmallow.
Yeah. Precisely. That's it. Exactly.
Okay.
They range from, I know that people listening won't help, but imagine a pillow-sized stuffed animal,
Yeah.
and they're very round, very bulbous, just sort of this round thing, and they have a happy little face on them, and maybe it's a bat or an octopus or a bubble tea or a sushi roll
Hang on, a bubble
with
tea,
a little
is
face
it
on
like
it.
a single tapioca ball? Or
No, like the entire bubble tea, like it's got a little
it's
lid
got a
on
lid
it,
and
and it's got a
everything.
happy face on the lid.
Okay.
Yeah. My kids had a ton of those, and what's great about them is they're literally called squishmallow. They squish down pretty well. They make great packing material, by the way. Like, I packed a lot of electronics in squishmallows, but you know what? When you're moving kids to another country, some of those home comforts, that thing that they're used to being on their bed, that's important stuff, right? Probably the most ridiculous thing that we brought is we filled one of those 45 centimeter cubed boxes with Lego. It's about It's about 60 pounds of Lego. So we
Hang on,
did bring
hang
that.
on. 60
Yeah.
pounds. So 27 kilos. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
27 kilos of Lego. Yeah, which is pretty funny because UC met us at the apartment and he was like, and it said Lego on the box. And he was like, we have Lego here, right? It's like, yeah, I know. So anyway, back to the
Yes.
$750. After the sticker shock of
Yeah.
$5,000, $750 was like a
Yeah.
relief. That was like, that's it? Awesome.
Okay.
And so um, as far as the getting here story goes, everything went smooth. Flights were smooth. We did have to gate check 3 of our carry-ons, which is a little bit stressful for me because it had some electronics and things in it, and I hate gate checking things
Hmm.
because they were just plain too heavy. They put it on the scale,
Yeah.
and it was like way over. So I definitely gave a gate agent some grief trying to get him to let me just check it anyway. But
Okay.
ultimately, she helped us out, and I appreciated that.
Good.
Iceland Air, flew Iceland
How does
Air.
that flight
They're pretty good.
look like from Boise to Helsinki?
Hour and a half to Seattle,
Yeah.
7.5 hours from Seattle to Reykjavik, and then I think a 3.5 hour flight to Helsinki after that.
Okay.
So, yeah, nice break in the middle.
I haven't.
Makes it a little bit
I have
easier.
traveled with Baby Willow. I haven't traveled with
Ooh,
slightly bigger Willow. What's that?
yeah.
What's that like in an airport with 3 young
Uh,
people?
3 kids. Yeah, you end up herding them around a little bit, but they also do a pretty good job of like, okay, follow mom,
Okay.
and I bring up the back,
Okay.
and just
So
kind of make
there,
sure
what
everybody's
that
staying
that
together.
wasn't adding a great deal of stress to your. Okay. Good.
No, no, not really. Maybe towards after we landed in Reykjavik and it was morning in Reykjavik and none of us had slept. They were starting to feel it, and then they all conked out on the flight to Helsinki, which was good.
Yep.
So that was good. And then when we landed in Helsinki, the younger 2 were pretty dead, but our oldest was revived
Okay.
and she was feeling all right. So then the next challenge begins. There's one more. Actually, there's 2 more hurdles that we have to
Right.
get through to get to our apartment. First is we have to physically move with 2 adults and 3 kids. We have to physically move 5 carry-on items, 5 personal items, and 10
Oh,
boxes.
yes.
Oh, we need to back up. Hang on. Before we get there, we have to back
Okay.
up. After we did you just hear a walrus
I
roar
didn't. I
by
didn't
chance?
hear it, but I
Okay,
read. But I
well,
read the email, so I know what you're talking
you
about.
read the email.
So tell me
Yes.
anyway. Tell me anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm at the office right now, which, by the way, if it's a bit echoey, I apologize. I have a lav mic on, and we just moved into this office. There's a lot of concrete. It's a basement basically, but we have windows, so it's not quite a basement. I'm sure you'll get to visit. And I'm recording at the office because our apartment is, while it's very insulated from the other
Yeah.
apartments, that we hear nothing from the other apartments. In our apartment, it is super loud and echoey, and it would just be horrible for both us and the kids and the wife. So
Okay.
anyway, here at the office, we have an Intel Nook set up over here that every time a customer buys a subscription to Hamina Network Planner, a walrus roar sound happens. And it's like a sustained, like 10 seconds of like multiple walrus sounds all kind of staggered around. It's awful, but it's so great. So, to anyone that's thinking about buying a copy of Hamina Network Planner, I recommend buying very early morning in the US or otherwise during business hours
Or,
in Finland so
or
that
just
we
yeah,
can enjoy the sweet, sweet sounds
just Google what time it
of
is in
walruses.
Helsinki and then make your purchasing decision.
Yes, yes, precisely. Okay, rewinding the story a little bit back to Boise.
Yeah.
We checked those 10 boxes, and I had 2 boxes left that needed to be mailed. One of them was my Prusa Mini, and which was in its original
Yep.
packaging because they sent it in very shippable packaging. Really appreciated that. And then a box with like my Yeti, which we use for the podcast, and some boom arms and stuff like that. So once again, I went to the UPS store because I thought these are smaller, these are lighter, maybe they won't be as horrendous, but we'll just ship them there. Uh, it was going to be about $280 to ship the Prusa Mini, which is right on the edge of being worth it, right? Considering that a Prusa Mini is what, $450 for the kit, something like
Yeah.
that ish, right?
That's danger territory, isn't it?
It was definitely danger territory, but she did calculate that we could do it for about 280 with the United States Postal Service. And I'm like, great, let's do it. And then she's like, it says there's an error. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, it just says error occurred. And I'm like, do you have any idea what that means? She's like, I have no idea what that means. And I've tried it a couple times and it's just, I can't get past it. And at that point, I said, thank you very much for your time, and walked outside and put the Prusa Mini in my father-in-law's car and said, I will let you know what I have to do with this, but I can't take it with me. This was actually at the departures drop off at the airport that this went down. The box with my microphone stuff, I cut it open and stuffed as many things in a bag as I could, but ultimately the Yeti didn't make it. The boom arms that I used for the Yeti and stuff, that's inconsequential. I don't really care if that didn't make it, but several items at the last second didn't make it. The infuriating thing is that I have like some of the parts from the boom mics made it in a box here.
Right.
And it's like I have pieces of my recording setup, but the main attraction, like the microphone and the boom arms, didn't make it. But really, worst of all was the Mini.
Yeah.
So I don't own a 3D printer right now. I do not own a 3D printer at this point in time.
That hurts me to hear this. How
It hurts me too.
And how are you viewing this challenge? Do you feel like a limb has been removed?
A little bit. I don't know. It's like I turn around and I'm like, oh, I need to make a little stand for this really quick.
Yep.
I'll just have my, oh, I can't do that. Oh, my headphones. I need to hang my headphones on the edge of my desk. I can't do that. And that happens every other day or so.
Okay.
Something like that is about how often it happens.
And so what's the kind of outlook here on the 3D printing, on the 3D printer purchase side of things? I mean, you've messaged me a few times, we're like, Nick, I need to print something to do this with. And, we've hit what, three or four items that you I'm doing air quotes need. I think want, but need as well. Like there is an element of need, and also, by the way, I'll hasten to add, I'm one to talk. I have 3 3D printers in the wardrobe to my left. I'm actually probably gonna get rid of one, if not 2, in the not too distant future, because their usage is going down. But the point is, I think I would now struggle. The funny thing is, a 3D printer, when it's in use, incredibly valuable in your life, in my life.
Yeah.
But when it's sitting, an idle 3D printer sat in this wardrobe doing useless nothing. It is just it's just a big cube of space in my life that I can't do anything else with.
Yeah. And there's also the kind of the devaluing of technology. When you buy a piece of new technology, it is very useful, and then its usefulness sort of tapers off over time, right? And that varies a little bit. That depends on the thing. But that's part of why, like, I handed my computer monitor to my father-in-law instead of putting it in storage, because I'm like, in several years when I'm back and I'm unpacking the storage unit, I don't want to deal with a several-year-old monitor.
What are you going to do with it at that point? You're going to get, oh, this thing's really old. I'll get a new one.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I do have vintage electronics that I put in storage that I kept very specifically. By the way, Nick, I brought 1 vintage computer with me to Finland. 1. So I didn't bring a 3D printer, and I didn't even bring it. I brought 1 vintage computer. I brought my Toshiba Libretto, which is like a super mega subcompact Pentium class laptop, very tiny. Literally, I'm holding up the size on the screen. That doesn't help people.
But
no, it's like 4 inches deep, 7 inches wide.
How does it compare
tiny,
to the size
very
of a
tiny.
Nintendo Switch?
It's about the same footprint, double the thickness of a Switch.
Okay.
Think just the Switch, no Joy-Cons.
Okay.
So the tiniest
Yeah.
laptop you could possibly imagine is still called a laptop. But
Interesting.
anyway,
Back to the 3D printer. Do
yes,
you have
yes.
space for a 3D printer?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Our apartment has really good storage in it. It's got lots of storage cabinets, and it could either live in a storage cabinet or I could just bring it out and put it back. It would be a Mini, not a Mark IVS. Would not, or definitely not a Bamboo Labs. No way. It would have to
Oh,
be. Yeah, I know.
fighting talk. But
Yeah, I know. Yeah, probably gonna piss some people off with that one. But yeah, it would be a Prusa Mini. Definitely would be a Prusa Mini.
interesting. Because I don't know whether I would go back to a Mini. I,
Really?
yeah, only because I
How come?
found the consistency of the Mark 3S that I bought secondhand just it, it was able to deliver.
Better.
I guess the thing is,
Yeah.
if you're only printing one-offs and small and
Mm-hmm.
small things, I mean, and don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong, the Mini was absolutely the correct printer for me to start with. But when
Yeah.
I started printing those, when I started printing the Neo 2 WLAN Pi case of your design,
Mm-hmm.
I found that it was that the results were good, but they weren't
Mm-hmm.
consistent.
And they weren't production quality good.
Well, I've got to be careful what I say here because I
Yeah.
sold them because so they were they were good. They were
Yeah.
good enough to sell, but they weren't.
You just had to print more of them to get a yield.
Yeah, exactly, and like
Yeah.
sometimes the fit was tighter than I would like, and sometimes it was correct,
Yeah.
and like that it seemed to me that the Mark 3S, much older, was able to deliver more consistent results.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I agree with you. The difference is that now what I would be using a 3D printer for, my Etsy shop I have closed.
Okay.
In fact, on my to-do list is I need to go make all of my models, need to make the licenses more permissible because now that I'm not selling them, I'm okay with other people selling them.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my to-do list. But well, the things I want to 3D print are household stuff,
For
you
you
know,
and
for fun,
friends
for
and
me.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A headphone holder for my desk here at work, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. Not WLAN Pi cases, not vintage Macintosh brackets that I'm going to sell. And so the slight
Yeah.
inconsistency of a Prusa Mini, that's
Yeah.
fine with me. That is totally, totally fine. So
Fascinating.
yeah.
And do you think that
Mhm.
so when are you gonna pull the trigger on
Well,
that?
I keep asking you, and you keep telling me to hold fire and not do it, Nick. So why? Why should I? Tell me why I can't buy a 3D printer, which I know I can, but
I think you need to get up to a good solid 5, if not 10 things. Maybe you should even have
yeah.
those things mocked up in Fusion. Maybe you should have 10 models
Ooh,
that call it 5. Let's say 5
that's
models, initial designs made in Fusion, and once you hit that cap of 5 models that you actually do need to print,
mhm.
then I think you're done.
Smart. Smart. That's actually a really good idea. The only reason why I may not go through with that is the lead time on a
Ah,
Prusa Mini
yes,
kit
that is the problem.
is six to 8 weeks right now. So there's actually another artificial constraint that's keeping me from buying right now. Uh, it takes some time in Finland to get a bank account.
Ah,
And we are currently surviving on our bank accounts from the US. And we're fine. We're totally fine. Like, we don't need to set up a GoFundMe or a Patreon or something like that. Like everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just so we're clear. I'm still paying for hosting for the Hidden Node podcast. And like I told you before we turned mics on it, I don't even care, not even thinking about it. But I don't have unlimited funds right now just because we're in that slump between getting paychecks and having just outlaid a ton of cash for things like flights and $750 to move 10 boxes to move
yep.
55 pounds of Lego and stuff like that. So, and also we've been buying furniture from,
Ah,
I'm told it's pronounced IKEA. not IKEA. It's
Oh,
IKEA
really?
here. I did not know this. So in the US, we definitely called it IKEA, but here it's like, yeah, we're going to make an IKEA run. And I'm like, is it pronounced IKEA? And they're like, yes. I'm like, you know what? We're in the Nordics. They know what
Fair
they're
enough.
talking about. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I am hesitant to. There's just other things that have taken higher priority, like a vacuum cleaner
Right.
over a 3D printer. So yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
but we will. I think I will do it. There is. Do you have any further questions about the move? Oh, maybe we should talk about. I didn't tell you about getting it through the airport. Is there enough? Do we have enough stamina to go through one more moving story,
Yeah, I
or have
think
we had
so.
enough?
I think this episode really should be about like a catch up, a catch up with
Okay.
Joel, because not a
Okay.
great deal has changed in my like nothing epic. So
Okay.
I think yes.
Nothing epic changed in my life either. It's pretty much
Liar.
the same, right? True. I'll give you that. Okay, so fast forwarding again, back up to when we got to the Helsinki airport.
Yeah.
We had 10 boxes, 5 carry-ons, 5 personal items, 5 people, and only 2 of these people are adults, grown-ups. So we stacked up boxes on luggage carts, and Serenity and I went, I mean, as crazy as we could with ours. And then for the kids, with our 10 or our 11-year-old, we gave her a decent amount.
Oh no!
And you
Wait,
look like you have a question or a comment.
We didn't finish this bit of the story anyway. We need to. We got sidetracked into 3D printing. You need to tell us the story of getting
Yes.
from Helsinki airport to
the apartment.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah.
That's where we are. Yeah. So we're at baggage claim. Boxes are coming off. By the way, the boxes look destroyed. Like the one that had Quincy, our 11-year-old stuff in it, was literally ripped open, and there was money falling out of it onto the conveyor belt. Cash was falling out of the box. Not a lot of cash, like $5, but it was pretty hilarious actually. The boxes were just mangled, but I won't make you wait to hear the results. 0 things were broken. Every single item made it. No breakage of any kind. Everything was in great shape. So that was great. Anyway, we stack up carts with stuff, and as the kids get smaller, we progressively put less things on their carts. But it was still, the stuff to kid ratio was hilarious. It was completely imbalanced. So then we have a decision to make. What do we do at customs? Because there is the nothing to declare and something to declare lines, right? Okay, so thinking through it, there is, we did some research on this. You can go through customs and you can declare personal effects. You can do that. And there should be no tax on those items. There should be no VAT on them.
Which is everything that you were bringing in is personal items.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely everything is personal items.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not carting anything over that's not personal items. And so I won't go into specifics of exactly what happened at this point, but well, there was a huge crowd of people walking through.
Yep.
And so we got through customs.
I'll just leave it at that. You may have gone through with that, but yeah, I guess that is an interesting one, because the way, in my worldview, you weren't importing anything. Like,
nothing
to sell.
No. We are, I mean, at this point, we're down to items that this is what we need to live.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
Okay.
So, long story short, there were no issues with customs.
Good.
So, no such issues with customs. Okay, so then, moving forward, went to the taxi cab lineup and flagged down a taxi, and I said, I need to move 5 people and all of this to Helsinki, which was a good 30 to 40 minute drive. Yes. It's not super close.
Yes.
And he said, I think we can do it in 2 taxis. And I went, really? He was like, yeah. And I was like, how much? And he gave me a price, and I said, done, let's do it. So we loaded up all my family and all of our worldly belongings in 2 taxis, and they drove us down to our apartment, and waiting for us were several of my coworkers with the keys for us, and they helped us move the boxes upstairs. Nice. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Oh, one more detail. Penny had so many boxes piled up that she like mowed down somebody on accident with the cart. She couldn't see anything. They were sitting in a walkway. I don't know what they were
Yeah.
thinking. I don't really feel bad, although I did apologize profusely in the moment. She felt pretty bad about it. I was like, kiddo, you couldn't even see them. She's like, yeah, I couldn't see anything.
Okay,
So,
this is because so
yeah.
many boxes
So,
stacked on her airport trolley, that baggage
mhm.
trolley, that she couldn't see
Yep.
over it.
She couldn't even
Yeah.
see. Yeah, like literally, the pile of boxes was twice as tall as her. So, but yeah, made it. And our apartment is lovely. It's in a great part of town, a very modern part of town. Like I mentioned earlier, the soundproofing is incredible. Very, very good soundproofing. We cannot hear our neighbors. We cannot hear our neighbors at all. But the soundproofing in the apartment
Within
is
the
not
apartment
great.
itself is,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
non-existent basically. Oh, we do have a sauna in the apartment, which
Wow.
is pretty great. Yeah. And we've started using it, and dude, I get it now. Like, I get it.
Okay.
I understand why Finns love that so much. We've done it twice now, and oh, it's lovely. I absolutely love it. So,
Cool. Cool. I mean,
and
I have enjoyed Finnish sauna when I have been in Finland.
oh, you've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. But I
Cool.
would say it's not. I think I would need to do it regularly before it became a staple thing. Like I enjoyed it, but I think it was because it was novel when I have
Yeah.
done it. It's not become part of my routine. So at the moment I don't miss it now that I don't have
Hmm.
access to a sauna. But yeah. In fact, so way before, like many years ago, I actually worked in northern Finland, nothing to do with Wi-Fi, and
Lapland.
up in Lapland, and
Oh.
we had sauna, and then you would do like jumping into the ice cold water or roll around in
Hmm.
the winter. I guess I should state, uh, Finnish northern Finland in the winter sauna, and then jump into the ice water or rolling around in the snow, and then back in the sauna, and that's fantastic. I enjoy, but like I
Nice.
say, probably my affinity for sauna is to do with novelty rather than um
Uh, it's still It's not routine for us. It's still
not yet,
novel for us
not
for
yet.
sure. But yeah. But also, it's summer here right now, Finnish summer, which, by the way, I've never been to Finland in the summer. I really want to hear more about your experiences in Lapland, though, because I'd love to go see
Hmm.
Lapland. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, we should. Well,
definitely
we'll chalk it up. We'll chalk it up for. We'll chalk it up. We'll chalk it up as though I was writing on a chalkboard for a future conversation.
check it out. My phone is ringing, unknown. I'm not going to answer it.
Right.
And there's a little S under it for secondary. Just I wanted to show
Ah.
you that
Okay.
so you could see what that looks like.
So that's
I thought
coming
that was
in from
interesting.
your
So.
US number.
Uh, yeah, that my US SIM, which it's daytime there, so the telemarketers are doing their
Yeah.
thing. It's my assumption. So yeah,
Well,
but yeah, let's definitely talk about.
that should all
Oh,
become
go ahead. Go
less of
ahead.
a
Sorry.
stressful experience with the next iOS, right? With the visual voicemail straight to text thing.
Oh,
So this should be this must be the
I
last thing we discuss. But yeah,
probably should be.
one of the upcoming features is the voicemail will
Hmm.
instantly transcribe as they leave the
As you're
message.
getting the voicemail.
Right. So
Ooh,
now
interesting.
any call that you don't want to answer there and then, you can just send it straight to voicemail and start looking at what the response is. So then you can make a decision based on what's being said, whether you're going to answer it or not. And I think that's
That's wow. That harkens back to the old days of having an answering
it
machine
does.
when you'd let the phone go to the
Yeah.
voicemail and say, "Hey, it's Joel. Pick up. Come on, I know you're home. Pick up. Pick up. Pick up. Pick up.
Yeah.
Pick up. Hey, there you are." And then the answering machine would record 5 minutes
Because
of you having a conversation.
I think the outright blocking of unknown numbers is like sometimes that backfires. That doesn't work. But if I could
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
always, oh, I don't know this number, I'll wait and see who it is because the text's going I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be meaningful, I think. It's going to be a meaningful
Hmm.
improvement.
Hmm.
Um
I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Joel, for your update on big life events.
Yeah, and we really only talked about like the move itself. We didn't really get into like what life has been like or anything like that. But I'll just leave you with it's been good. It's been sort of relaxing,
Good.
and we kids have been in school for about finished school for about 5 days now, and they're settling into that. Tomorrow, I think they're all going to ride the tram home from school by themselves. They all get off school at different times, so they'll take the tram home. Keeping in mind, we're from Boise, Idaho, where what is a tram? You know, there's no metro system. That we had a tiny bus system there that the kids were never exposed to.
Okay.
So this whole, we live without a car. We live in the city. It's way different than what they're used to. But it's been very good. And once again, I just have to emphasize how insanely welcoming
Yeah,
my coworkers have been. They have all gone out of their way to take great care of us, and I am eternally grateful to them. And it's good. It's all really good stuff. We can talk about specifics later
definitely.
on if you want.
Great, man. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, thanks for letting me
Oh,
talk about all this. I really appreciate it.
great, man. Right. We'll speak again soon. Thanks very much.
All right, see you.
Ciao.
Bye now.